Hi, my name is Leah Day with the Free Motion Quilting Project, and welcome to Quilt Along number 35. We are continuing to work through the Batik Beauty Quilt, stitching in the sashing with some beautiful designs. So today we're going to see what happens when we take flowing lines, the design we learned last week, and mix it with stippling. Let's get on the machine and see how this works in free motion. So here's where we left off last week on the Batik Beauty Quilt. We've stitched this beautiful design, flowing lines, and now we're going to basically take this exact design and stitch a variation of it, simply adding stippling into the gaps. And this design is called Goldilocks. So let's get started. I'm going to stitch a gap line right now. And remember, that's just branching out and forming a gap, an open space. And I am concentrating on making this open space a little bit bigger. You can see it back here. It's a little bit bigger than the last ones. Now I'm going to stitch back into that space and fill it with stippling. Notice how I'm filling up one side. I'm going to come up to this point and then fill down the opposite side. That way I will finish up right here and I can continue travel stitching down. If this was a longer piece, I would travel stitch down, form the next gap, fill the next gap, and work all the way down the piece rather than ending up here where I would be set up to do the echoes of this design. It's one of those things where it really helps to be able to fill half of a space and then come in and fill the second half of the space and make it look nice and consistent. Now you might be worrying about the density of the stippling. I could go a lot more dense, and it still be soft because the echo stitching around it is going to be nice and wide and will allow for that. So don't worry about it being too stiff. If you are concerned, make your gaps and your lines a lot wider apart, like maybe an inch or 2 inches wider, so that way you have more space to fill with stippling. Okay, so I've reached this point, travel stitch down, and now I'm going to stitch along that sashing line and into the stitched in the ditch section along this block. And that's going to give me a little bit of space to form my echo as I come up. Okay. Now I want to form a gap, so I'm going to travel stitch along the edge of this block and come down and make a real huge gap area, so that way it can be filled with a lot of stippling. If you happen to not be able to get all the way back to your starting point, don't worry about it. Just travel against one of the outer lines. That'll get you back to where you need to go. So now I'm going to finish up with Goldilocks, stitch through this section, let you listen to how it sounds and the speed changes of my machine as I quilt. Now, two things about this one area. Number one, the reason I filled it completely is because it actually stretches from the full edge to edge. So I can go on ahead and fill it completely and end up here, and that's fine. That's not a big deal if your gap is that big. Another thing is, if you need to rewind this video and go back and look at it, I filled this back and forth in rows, so that way I didn't stitch myself into a corner. Right here, I'm just simply giving myself a line to work off of while I'm stitching through this sashing. Of course, I could just simply work along this straight line, the seam line, but I really don't like the look of that. It doesn't go with the flow of Goldilocks, so I like to stitch a nice wiggly line there instead. It's really entirely up to you. In this situation, I only had a small bit, so I ended up in the wrong place. I need to get back down here so I can form some more gaps. So I'm just going to travel stitch. That's really the best option. Don't ever feel like you have to break thread. You usually don't have to. You can figure out a way of getting from one place to another without breaking thread. Unless, of course, your bobbin runs out. here's what it looks like when you stitch Goldilocks into the Batik Beauty quilt. So that's it for this tutorial. I really hope you'll get on your machine and give this design a try. If you do stitch it out in a quilt, make sure to post it online, your Facebook, Flickr, or blog, and link up with us for the Free Motion Quilt Along. We link up every single week, and that is at freemotionproject.com. Ask any questions that you have about the design, post any struggles or issues that you had quilting it on your machine, and, really get a part of the group. We're building a group of quilters that are helpful and inspiring to one another, and also just simply kicking ourselves in the pants to get on our machines and be quilting every single week. If you're looking for even more designs, beyond the designs that we've been working on through the Quilt Along, check out this book. This is my recent book, I published it in May 2012. And it's 365 free motion quilting designs. It's all of the designs I created between 2009 and 2011. And every single design has a video online. So you can look through the book, find a texture that you like, look up the video online, learn how to quilt it, and put it anywhere on your quilts. You have hundreds of designs to choose from, so there's never an end to finding the right design for your quilts. So find this book and many more wonderful videos at freemotionproject.com.